Well, good evening, everyone, and welcome to When the Shift Hits the Fan. And tonight, we've got our new logo up. Yay, us. It's Inspiration, Empowerment, and Transformation. And we are the Shifters. My name is Mark Jeffrey, and I'm here with my co-host, Linda Lehman. A couple of weeks ago, I took some time off the grid, and totally off the grid. By that I mean I put my phone and my laptop and everything, I locked it away so I couldn't have access to it. I took off to the mountains in a little cabin that had no other communication. Like, I actually found out my cell phone didn't really work up there. And I just decided that I was going to take 2 days and totally go off grid, not communicate with anyone. I told everyone where I was going, and I had emergency stuff, so it's not like I just walked out into the wild. But I wanted to have some time to just stop and really make myself stop. And it was a very unusual experience for me because I'm so active. I'm doing so many things, and I do take my time for myself during the day, and I meditate, and usually it's at night or early in the morning. But I've never actually taken 2 solid days that I have not communicated with anyone. I mean, and we'll talk about this too, because it was the best time of my life, really, in some respects, the scariest time of my life, because really we get so addicted to all of these things that we're connected to, like Facebook and Twittering and text messaging back and forth. We're just doing this constantly all day long, where we're tethered to all of these things that are time vampires in our lives. And for me, I'll be honest, the first couple hours, the first day I was there, I was a little jittery and fidgeting and wondering, what should I do with my time? It took me a lot of time to power down and to just breathe it all in and appreciate it for the moment. And I guess that's why I've been writing for this whole week about being in the moment. Because, Linda, I don't think that you can be in the moment when you've got one eyeball on your phone.
No, you're so right, Mark. You can't be. You may think that, oh, well, I'm a really good multitasker. But the fact of the matter is, unless you are truly in the moment, full attention on what's in front of you, you're not really there. You're only halfway doing everything that you do. It's so incredibly important for us all to really heed that message, not only to the extent that you did, taking those 2 days to really regroup. And I hear an echo, but it might just be on my end.
Yeah, I've got a little bit of feedback, Linda, but you know what? That's what happens with our live shows. And tonight we're using a different conference bridge, and I think that's probably picking up maybe some of the reverb off of the computer as well, because we're recording it on a different conference bridge. So sorry, folks, if the sound quality isn't that great, but I'm sure you'll get the message.
Yeah, I'm sure you will too. I just wanted to make sure that it was, it wasn't just me, and because I can pretty much ignore it. But anyway, to get back to the topic, it doesn't necessarily take 2 days for us to realize that we're not in the moment. I like where you're going with this, because so many people, I can watch people at dinner. Let's say we're at a restaurant and we're watching people at dinner, and it may be a couple, and they're both on their phones on Facebook or text messaging, or even on the phone talking to somebody else. They're not enjoying the whole experience of being at this meal together. They're totally missing out on each other, and it's really sad, Mark.
It is really sad, and it's also, for me, I really realized what an invasion on my time it was to have other people think that I should be accessible 24 hours a day.
Oh, yeah, that's a big one, too. You might. I love my two daughters with all of my heart, but sometimes, I do get the message about taking some time just for me, and my phone, my cell phone, and my house phone are for my convenience. And so if I'm in the middle of something and I receive a text message from one of them or I receive a phone call, I will, if it's really important what I'm doing, I won't answer the call and I won't answer the text until after I'm finished. Or I'm known to go for a wonderful hour, 2-hour walk and not take my phone with me. And inevitably, my daughters will chastise me when I get back or I finally return their call. What were you doing? Why weren't you there? And I think that's because as a society, we've all gotten used to this instant communication, and it must be there, and everybody must have their phone on their hip at all times for the convenience of everybody else instead of for the convenience of me.
Exactly. And, and I think, too, that let's talk about this in a business frame as well, because I went up there to actually write more of my book and to kind of be in touch with all of the bad feelings, all the things, the emotions that I would have to go through. I wanted not my own environment. It's kind of strange, I guess, I didn't want to bring that kind of vibe into my home. So I decided I would take it somewhere else. So I wanted no distractions. I didn't want it to be in my own environment. I wanted it to be somewhere where I could be by myself and just write. And because I for one thing, my life is so busy that I'm neglecting this. I'll call it procrastinating because I have to get in touch with feelings that I really don't want to. Number one, in order for this to be a good book, to have a true testament to what I was dealing with, I had to go back. And I would find myself going, well, I'll sit and write for 2 hours tomorrow. And, of course, I would find something else to do for those 2 hours and go, oh, darn, just didn't have time to do that today. And so, I knew what I was doing. I was intentionally procrastinating, which, that's even bad. I hate to admit stuff like that, but I was really doing that because I didn't want to face it. And so I decided that this is what I was going to do. I was forcing myself to be with me, myself, and I, and only have that, and have it in an environment that I could leave and maybe never have to go back to, so I wouldn't be reminded of it when I was going back there or doing anything. And I'll tell you, the quiet was unnerving, disturbing, until the night when I walked out and I knew, there was no lights. Like I was in the top of a mountain, so there's nothing around. You couldn't see lights, but it was bright outside, and I happened to walk out in a great big moon and all these stars. And I was sitting there I was just so peaceful inside that moment that it opened up another side to me, allowing me to bring those feelings in. But it's almost like it was like being comforted inside of a cozy blanket and knowing you're safe with all of this bigness and graciousness around me that I couldn't even write anymore. I had to start dictating into my recorder because things were coming so fast at me and in and out and through me with this feeling of peacefulness and quiet and contentment that it didn't hurt at all. It was the most amazing thing that I've ever done in my life.
Wow, Mark, that sounds wonderful. And I think that more of us should do this on a regular basis. Maybe we don't have to go away someplace for a couple of days. It might just be a day or a few hours where we can get totally away from everything: business, family, chatter, our phones, our computers, everything, and just release it all and relax into the moment. I mean, and I think you probably hit on this too, Mark, because you said when you first got there, you know, it was uncomfortable, it was unnerving, and you probably had all of these thoughts going through your mind. You know, if I were at home, I'd be doing this, and this. Oh, I need to get this done. Oh, I need to get that done. You had all of this chatter going on, thinking about other things and other people instead of exactly where you were at that point in time. Am I right?
Oh, absolutely. Like I said, you know, you live in your environment. You're always doing that, especially if you're coming towards something. I mean, let's face it. I love who I am. I love my life, but there's parts of it that can be a little tedious, and you know, it's not exciting to do them. And I will, like all human beings, you know, get kind of bored with something, right? Especially if something's difficult, or you know, you stumble a little bit, and you know, oh, I don't know where I want to go from here, and you kind of, in one hand, it's good to walk away, like you said, you know, take some time. Like you walk on the beach, I go out snowshoeing here, take my 4x4 out, you know, out for a run out in the fields, and just let loose for a while. But sometimes I don't come back and sit down and do what I need to do. But I found having no other distractions and nowhere else to go. My only choice was to really give up on myself and get in my truck and come back home. I mean, that was my choice. Do it and enjoy it and get something out of this, or go home. And that means you're a quitter. And Lord knows this girl is not a quitter. But I'm a good procrastinator sometimes. I'm just never a quitter. And it put me in a position to have to face one thing of not being tethered, like not having that, you know, I wonder who's on Facebook, I wonder what everybody's doing today, what's happening in the world. No radio, no TV, no cell phone, no laptop, nothing. Just me, the fireplace, and during the day, you know, the sunlight and out on the big, beautiful balcony that they had overlooking the mountain. It was just me. In fact, you know what, Linda? I didn't even bring my camera. I didn't want to distract myself of, you know, oh, I'm going to go take pictures out there. This is so pretty. I'm going to go take pictures today. I didn't even do that. I thought, here's your notebook. Here's your pen. Here's yourself. Get her done.
That's so amazing, Mark. And, you know, how would we drill that down for the person who can't just totally break away, but maybe they're working on their own business, they're either starting something, or maybe they're even just getting frustrated because they've worked on something and that they wanted to do for their business, maybe online, and they just haven't been able to seem to get it rolling. But then when you look at it, I mean, I've worked with people, and I know you have too, Mark, where if you really sat down and wrote down everything that you did during the daytime, maybe in 15-minute increments, I know what a lot of people find is they've allowed all of these distractions to take over their time. You know, instead of spending maybe 10 or 15 or 20 minutes first thing in the morning on Facebook just to wish their friends a happy birthday and, you know, make sure nothing major is going on, they find that all of a sudden they've been there for 2 hours and they didn't even realize it.
Oh yeah, Facebook, that's like an addiction. I swear, everybody I talk to says that. I sit down, I'm just going to do my updates, and I'm out of here. And the next thing you know, you're right, 2 hours has gone by, and there's nothing productive in that. But you know what I do? I have a 5-minute gig that I do, and I don't know if it works for other people, but I do it for jobs I hate doing, and that's like cleaning the bathroom. I mean, it's just, I don't know, something I just don't like doing, and or if I have to dust off all my bookshelves. I'm a reader, and I have books galore. They're all over my house, but dusting them, not so much. So I just set myself, I get a timer, and I set my timer up, and I'm set it for 5 minutes. I'm just going, okay, you only have to endure this for 5 minutes. So get as much done as you can in 5 minutes, and then call it a day. and I get in there, and it's really funny because the timer goes off, and I'm still going. I'm going, no, you know what? I'm halfway done, so I might as well finish it every single time. And that's the way I kind of did when I'm writing, because it's not a natural thing for me. Talking, yeah, I talk and I talk and I talk. Everybody knows that. But writing, not so much. Articulating how I feel and putting it into words on paper was a little more difficult for me. So I did the same thing. I'd set the timer and for 5 minutes, and I'd write a headline. And if that's all I got, and I just couldn't get past that, or a title or one sentence or a thought, I would just leave it and, take some time to, I call it mull about it. So that's when I take that long walk, and where, again, I live across, for me, is the river, and it's quiet down there, especially during the day, because most people are working, and, I happen to not have to do that. So it would be nice and quiet, and I would just go over there and I'd sit, and in the back of my mind I would keep that thought or that title or something. And it's interesting, Linda, and I bet you do the same thing walking on the beach, is all of a sudden things started, once I let go, then images, impressions, thoughts, joining things together, and new adventures actually entered my mind and were kind of free-flowing. Do you ever feel that way?
All the time. I'll be stuck on something, or I will, allow something to start to get under my skin, and I'll take that walk, and it's so amazing that once I tune in to like the sand under my feet and the sound of the water and the birds and an interesting shell or two, all of a sudden an unsurmountable problem is just a teeny weeny little bump. All of a sudden I have the solution just pop in, just because I just let it all go, didn't try to think about or force anything. I just let my mind relax. And what that enabled me to do is to hear the answers that I've been seeking coming up from my intuition. They were there all along, but because I was trying to force the issue, or because I was trying to think, procrastinate, as you said, and think of 10 million other things to do besides just addressing the issue at hand, all of a sudden let all that go. I let my mind just relax, and these wonderful ideas, as you said, just would start coming. And then I would find myself, a lot of times I do find myself thinking, oh, wow, this is so cool. I want to hang on to this. I'm going to turn around and jog back home so that I can jot all these down and get to work on that right away.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's the breakthrough. And I think you can't, first of all, I believe that you have to have the tools to do any job. And I think when you're trying to be creative or you get stuck somewhere, you can't, like you said, you can't force the issue. That's like, banging your head against the wall. It's not going to break for you. You really have to put your mind and your soul and your body in a space that will allow you to, be creative. Or like Linda, like you and I, when we're, you're cancer slaying, you have to be in the mind and body and soul space to conquer that, because an imbalance of any or all of those things, and it just doesn't quite work out the way you want it to. If you decide that, oh, my head's in the game, but you're not eating healthily, then that's not going to work out. If your body's in the game, but your mind just doesn't care, it's not going to work out. And I think in those spaces of time where you can get real quiet and everything kind of floats away, you open up a space, and it could be even a space within the universe that you alone are sitting. And I know to some people it's going to sound like the hokey pokey and all of that new age stuff, but unless you actually get in that space, you'll never know. Because I'm logical. I would have never believed it until I started forcing my, like, yoga, right? And at first, when I started taking yoga, I'd lay on the, deep breathing. I'm going, yeah, okay, whatever. How many minutes have gone by? Can I actually go now? And that reminds me, like on Julia Roberts and Eat, Pray, and Love. Same thing, okay, is it time yet? And then the next thing you know, like 7 hours have gone by. And we did that on the beach when I came to visit you. I mean, you and Randy and I sitting there, and, you know, it's just kind of not too much conversation. Every once in a while, oh, that's kind of cool over there. And then we look at the watch and going, holy moly, man, like the whole day has just gone by. But then when we would come home at night, the creative and the ideas and where we're going to go and what we're going to do were just like, bam, all there and all excited about that you're working till late into the night.
Mhm. And we did while you were here. It was awesome.
Yeah.
You touched on a good point, Mark, and it's something that I, with clients of mine, have to kind of gauge and tiptoe because, of course, as you know, as a coach too, we want to make sure that we're talking to a person's conditioning, a person's paradigms, because if we start blurting out stuff like meditation and going within and you know, seeking the silence, people will turn off, especially if they don't understand it. And so I like to start out with talking about taking, you know, a little time out. You know, the little bit of time for yourself to just be quiet. And I always like to encourage people to, you know, especially the first few times, don't worry about shutting down the mental chatter that you're going to hear, because you're going to hear tons of it.
Oh, yeah. Yep.
Yeah. So what we have to practice, and you know, it's just like with yoga, you weren't perfect at all of your yoga positions and poses the very first time that you did it, right?
No, I fell over and fell under and fell all around a whole pail full of times.
Me too. And I still do this, especially now. I'm trying to get back into yoga with my recuperation, but the flexibility just isn't there. So I'm very careful because I just don't want to fall over right now. But it's really funny. So I only do it when nobody's looking. But to get
well, you know what? It's funny too, because we can wrap that into there. Because the first few times that I did go, you know, starting off with yoga, I kind of, you know, when I was there, I'm kind of watching a lot. I was participating, but it was only, I will say, half-heartedly participating, because I thought, well, I'm going to make this kind of like look good, so I look like I'm doing this, and then when I go home, I'll practice it so I can actually do it well, right? That I can actually breathe through it and stuff. So as human beings, we're kind of silly that way. But the thing is you, just like you were saying, you know, the first time you do this, there's going to be all these things going on through your head. You're not going to be perfect at it. You might feel and look like an idiot doing it. But the thing is, you keep doing it. That's the whole thing. You just keep doing it. I don't think I could have started, Linda, with going for 2 days with nothing. Like, I don't think I could do that. Like, even a year ago, I don't think I could have.
Yeah. Exactly. You know what? I'm not sure I would have been able to a year ago either, but I know that I could now, just because I have been dedicated to going into that quiet space within. And it took quite a while before all of the chatter floated away, and I encourage people to allow that chatter to happen and just watch it go by like it's on a fluffy cloud or something, and don't try to force it to just shut up, because so many people say, "Oh, I can't meditate because I can't shut off my mind." Well, you're not supposed to. You're supposed to allow it to happen and not force it. And I like what Deepak Chopra says in the 7 Spiritual Laws of Success. He's talking about the field of pure potentiality. Basically what he's saying is all of the potential, all of the opportunities that exist between thoughts. And so he talks about going into the silence, going within and being quiet, meditating, if you want to call it that. But then he even, as I guess, huge of a practitioner of meditation and seeking this inner silence within, as huge of a practitioner as he is, he even suggests, if if you can't do it for a whole day, start out with 15 minutes. Work yourself up, 15 minutes, and then 30 minutes, and then an hour. The one key ingredient to all of this that Mark and I are talking about is, number one, set aside this time. Schedule it if you need to. It's as important as any meeting, any event that you are going to go to. Schedule the time. Disconnect yourself from computers, cell phones, telephones, any electronic devices. And one little trick that I've learned to do, if you have downloaded, say, some soothing music on your phone, and you want to plug yourself into your earphones because maybe this music helps you relax, take your phone and put it on airplane mode. Even though you're not on a plane, go ahead and put it on airplane mode, because what that's going to do, it's going to stop any texts or phone calls from coming through while you're having this time out or this quiet time for yourself.
Mm-hmm. Great idea. Here's the thing, too. If we're going to feed our internal flames, and as entrepreneurs, we have to have a lot of flame. And the reason is because you're going to be faced with a lot of obstacles, a lot of naysayers, a lot of things going on that, are going to, if you don't have a hot flame happening, if you don't have a burning desire and a passion to do what you're doing, it's going to be really easy to stop. And we have to wake up. And that's what we're doing. It almost sounds like, oh, well, they're just letting it all go and you're just going to, float out there. Well, that's not the reality of it. It's having conscious thought and thinking on the things that matter the most and getting rid of, I call it monkey chatter. You've heard, Linda, it's the chatter that's going on, and focusing on the things that really matter to us and having conscious choices about things. The things that really are our highest commitments to ourselves. And I can get lost inside of these spaces. I know as Linda, you can as well, because we coach people on exactly this. Most of the time what I find, and I know we're going to do another show on this, is that people just don't have confidence in themselves because of what everybody else says, and they don't have enough of a flame burning inside them that the little spit, somebody spits, and it puts it out. And these are the moments in time that will allow you to stoke that flame. It'll bring you back to, it allows you to go back to that. Why did I start this? I wanted this freedom. I was going to go there. And what's stopping me? It allows the space and time, like you said, Linda, to expand and allow all those good things to come in.
Exactly, Mark, and you hit on something when you were talking about so many times we forget to focus on what is the most important for ourselves. We're too busy focusing on everybody else, especially as women.
Mm-hmm. Oh, yeah.
Everybody else's needs instead of our own needs. And so this is the time, as you say, to fan that flame, fan that spark. You see, because when you take this time and you start fanning that spark, that desire that you have, that's something that's a gift that you've been given, this desire to do whatever it is that you want to do that you're not doing now. That's a gift. And so this is your time to fan that flame. And when you consistently take this time to go within and fan that flame and act on the ideas that come to you during this time, then you're going to cross a threshold where you don't have to fan the flame anymore, because that desire is so strong that absolutely nothing is going to stop you from then on, no matter what anybody else does.
Oh, exactly. And here we are, Linda, the end of another half an hour. And I know for you and I, we're just getting started. But I guess one last thing I'm going to say, and I'm always going to leave the last words to you, Linda, because you always find something awesome. But I just want to say this, is no matter what anybody says, or even how you're feeling right in this moment, you may not feel that you're at your peak performance and working at your best, and perhaps everything went wrong today. and you're wondering why even bother. Well, bother because you are worth it. And you have to look after yourself first. It's like that lady on the airplane, put the oxygen mask on yourself before you put it on someone else. Because if you can't help yourself, you can't help anyone else. And particularly in business, if you are not centered and strong on your own foundation, you can't help other people. And they're going to soon realize it. So this is something we're going to take some time and build some building blocks. So Linda, last word is yours, my friend.
Oh, thank you, Mark. And I want to keep with our theme of being quiet and going into that silence. I think that this is so incredibly powerful. It's from a gentleman by the name of David Simon. And I just love this, especially if you just really sink into the words and the idea that he's sharing with us. He said, learning to still the mind's dialogue opens the door to a domain of silence that has the potential to heal and transform your life. As you tap into this inner silence, you begin the process of shifting your internal reference point from ego to soul, from fear to love, from anxiety to peace, and from constriction to expansion. This is how you start developing your self-worth, and this is how you start fanning that flame.
Great words, Linda. Great words. We want to thank everyone for stopping by and joining our conversation tonight. And we hope that in some small way that we've helped you become a stronger person, because that's what we're all about. So from Mark here in Canada tonight, good night, everybody.
And from Linda down here in Florida, good night. Good night.